everyone, and welcome back to another video. A slightly different thing today because I'm here and I've turned the camera on and I currently have no idea what this video is going to be about, so that's fun. I don't know if you guys follow me on kind of other social media, but I've kind of been struggling a little bit recently. My head's been a bit of a mess and I've been getting very emotional very easily, and it's a whole thing with issues getting my medication and stuff, but a big kind of consequence of it all has been that it's very, very difficult getting on camera for me. I got myself in a place today where I was like, you know what, I'm finally like, I'm doing all right. I haven't cried today. I put some makeup on. Let's film a video. And then I realized that I had nothing ready to go. And I was like, you know what? Let's not waste this. Let's do some kind of, well, something that I don't really do very often, and that's kind of first impression response videos to certain things. I figure it's been a few months since we checked it, maybe even a year actually, since we checked in on Girl Defined. It's been a good month or two since we checked in on Classically Abby. I had a quick look at Paul and Morgan while, you know, I was setting stuff up, and they were a bit boring. But Girl Defined and Classically Abby, I've not looked at them in a while, and I figured, yeah, let's do it. Let's have a watch a few of their videos together. This isn't going to be the same kind of in-depth or science-based videos that I normally do or anything like that. It's just basically going to be first reactions, seeing what we think of some of these points, having a bit of a giggle, having a bit of fun, and kind of catching up on some of these classic characters from the early days of my channel, you know? I figured we'd go Girl Defined first, because it's been the longest since I looked at anything they've done. I already know from like, I know from their video titles this is going to be intense. How to show a guy you're interested, everything you need to know before you date, should Christian girls send nude photos? Which one do we fancy? Have a little drink there, Kyra? Oh, someone's a thirsty pickle, aren't you? Alright, I'll tell you what, since we're here and we're doing this, let's go with their most recent video, How to Show a Guy You're Interested, with the subtitle, Here's What Not to Do. Oh, no way. Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, I feel quite bad for them. So, like I say, it's probably been, I don't know, 9 months or something since I last looked at a Girl Defined video. And, oh, it's got so bad for them, bless them, that they've had to turn off their like to dislike ratio and turn the comments off. Alright, mixed thoughts here, right? Because on the one hand, I don't like the idea of anyone facing like targeted harassment online, even people like Kristen and Bethany here. But you'd think after a while, if you're getting that much backlash on that big a scale from so many different kinds of people, you would start to actually like reevaluate your content and what you're saying rather than just ignoring it. You know? I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Anyway, let's learn how to show a guy we are interested.
What's up, y'all? Thanks so much for hanging out with us today. This is always a highlight for us, the highlight of our week. When we get to hang out with you, it's just like a little bit of joy because you are the bomb. All right, before we jump in, what are we talking about today? We are talking about how to show a guy that you are interested in him. This is actually a topic we've been having some great chats about with the single sisters, but I'm not going to give you the scoops just yet.
Is it just me or have they got more smug?
What's up, y'all? Thanks so much for hanging out with us today.
I think they have, you know.
Okay, this is just such a fun thing to talk about. So the other week I was chatting with my younger sisters who are single, and we were talking about this idea, like, okay, so what if you are interested in a guy and you're like, okay, he's a really great guy. I'm really interested in him, but he's not speaking up. We're like not in a relationship or anything, but I want to show him that I'm interested. I want to kind of set myself apart from the other girls who maybe aren't interested. How do I do that? Like, how do I not be like just like a big flirt, but still make myself very available and make myself very much like, hello, you know?
How do I not flirt but show I'm available without showing I'm available?
We always talk about it like two ditches, right?
I know.
It's like you have
like either the girls, and we know because we fall into one of these categories, right? There's like the group of girls, you split them in half, and half the girls are like running towards guys, like, boys, you know, they're really good at talking, outgoing, they like beeline for the guys.
Oh my God,
yes, like
all
so just right there with the guys, and then the other half of the girls are like, guys, and then they see them and they kind of like don't make eye contact. They sit at the other table. They avoid the guys. When they talk to them, they feel really nervous and awkward.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. There's only ever two types of women in the world: those who are obsessed with men and throw themselves at them, and those who are terrified of men, because you know, lesbians don't exist, asexual people don't exist. People kind of in the middle of that, kind of, you know, not throwing themselves but not afraid. Like they don't exist, do they? No, only two kinds. These women must be in their like what, mid-30s by now? Like, how have they got this far and they're still relying on these like weird high school stereotypes to group like every single person in the world. It's so bizarre.
And so, where's the balance?
Which camp did you fall into, though, by the way?
That one. Running towards guys. We didn't struggle necessarily with, like, feeling awkward and shy around guys, but I know girls find themselves on either side, and I don't think either one's the best place to be. I think there's a balance somewhere in the middle.
That's probably the first good thing I've heard them say in a long, long time.
We want to get really practical today. So maybe you grew up in a home where you're like, okay, I need to be very, like, you know, I'm really focused on purity and all of this, which is good, but you get to the point where you feel awkward around a guy, or maybe you're like, okay, I've been told I don't need to be such a flirt, but how do you just interact with a guy in a normal way, but still kind of showing him that you're interested in?
Actually, I agree with them that this is a really important topic here, and this is one of the big criticisms I have of purity culture in general. When people make such a big deal about issues like sex and relationships, and romance and love and that kind of thing in general, and they make these topics taboo, it makes them very hard to talk about, and it makes it very hard to have any kinds of healthy relationships when you feel so much shame and guilt around them and you can't really talk to anyone about it. And, you know, it's very natural for people, especially teenagers when your hormones are going crazy, to feel a lot of attraction towards other people and to want to kind of explore their sexuality and figure it out for themselves. That's very, very normal. But when you have these completely normal, natural urges and you're being told to suppress them and it's bad and this, and you can only do it with these rules and in this circumstance and with this in mind and this and this, and when you have these like set strict rules, it can be very, very difficult for people to be like, well, what should I do? A lot of you guys have left me comments saying that the whole like purity culture thing left you feeling so shamed and scared of what is a very natural feeling, things like attraction and wanting to flirt and stuff like that. So on the one hand, I like that Girl Defined are actually addressing this and kind of, I mean, I know they're not explicitly saying purity culture is the problem here. They're definitely not, because they're all for purity culture. But I do like that they're at least bringing this topic up and talking about it, because I do think it's a very important one. I've always said before, like, your body is yours to do with, you know, as you please, and you need to make these decisions for yourself. So whether you want to go out and have sex when you're ready, or you want to save yourself for marriage because you believe in that kind of thing, it doesn't matter where you fall on that spectrum. I think the point still stands that it's important that people know they shouldn't be ashamed of whatever feelings they're having and whatever they want to do, as long as it's not hurting anyone. So actually giving people practical advice and saying like, okay, well, if you do want to save yourself till marriage, here's how you can kind of give into your natural urges without, I guess, kind of upsetting your personal morals, if that makes sense. I think giving people practical advice for that is very, very good. I'm just not sure what it's going to be. I guess we'll see.
Say that a guy comes over to maybe your house or someone else's house and they're having a gathering and you see him come in. You have a couple options. You could avoid him because you're just like, oh my goodness, there he is, I'm going to run away. Or maybe you say hi to him and you're like, hi, how are you doing? And then you leave right away. Or maybe you talk to him but you just don't make eye contact and you're looking everywhere.
So you're talking more to the girl who would struggle to talk to guys at all.
That's a good balance. I think a few things that you could do is you could just make mature, respectful eye contact. Yeah. So you're looking at him and you are connecting with him and you're showing him that you're interested. You're saying like, how are you? You know, Jake, like, how's it going?
Actually, completely agree. It's actually quite good advice. I think the thing to remember for a lot of young people in general, like it doesn't matter what your gender is. I think you have to realize that people who you're attracted to can seem really like big and scary and intimidating at first. Actually, lots of people can seem intimidating when you're that age. You know, just other people your age, people older, people of the whatever gender you're attracted to, like all sorts of things. I think the important thing to remember in those situations is that ultimately they're people too. And part of figuring things out and starting a relationship, or, you know, trying to kind of like figure out your sexuality or whatever it is you want, that whole thing, figuring out friendships, everything, it's all part of kind of figuring out, do me and you fit together in whatever capacity? Does my personality gel with your personality in whatever capacity, be that friends or a work relationship or a romantic relationship or whatever? And so I think to get the best relationships in life, you have to stop thinking of like, well, how do I win you over? And start thinking of it more as, well, how do we figure out if we fit well together? So as silly as it sounds, understanding that if you have a crush on someone and you're trying to like figure out, do they like me back? Would we work well together? All that kind of stuff. Like, it sounds silly and simple, but it's really important to remember that they're just a person too. And chances are they're asking the same questions of you, even if they don't necessarily have the same goals as you in mind, or maybe they do, it doesn't really matter. The point is just treating them like another human being is such a big important thing. Be respectful, be kind, get to know them, show you're actually interested, ask questions, that kind of thing. So I actually completely agree here. I think this is surprisingly good advice from these two.
Looking at him, you're showing that interest and you're smiling.
Oh my god, those are still there.
Which is crazy because when you describe it that way, it's really just a normal, friendly, kind interaction.
But how are you going to ever give him a chance to get to know you or for you to really get to know him if you don't make those mature efforts?
I've seen like our younger sisters and some younger girls that are their friends do is to like initiate a game night or like host a gathering or even text some friends, including him, like maybe 5 or 6, like, hey, let's all go hang out and grab coffee or, you know, go on a hike or something, and you're purposely including him.
Yeah, I'll be honest, like, for once, this is actually, like, fairly decent advice from Girl Defined. I'm kind of, like, 5 minutes in and I'm a little bit bored, so let's skip forward and find another video we can have a watch of. Well, should Christian girls send nude photos? I'm gonna guess the answer is no, but I'm kind of keen to watch, just in case Girl Defined surprised me for once. Now, before we actually even like get into this video, I'm just going to share my very brief thoughts. Because again, I know I have quite a lot of younger, especially female viewers, and I feel like these are the kinds of questions that people want to ask, and even though I'm not a Christian, I think as a woman, I can hopefully help kind of give my own perspective on this. One thing I would say is that I don't think it should come down to your religion, whether you send photos to another person or not. In this case, we're talking about nude photos. Ultimately, I think it should be your choice and your choice alone. I mean, don't go sending them to like everyone if they're not asking for it. You know, like, no non-consensual naked photos, please. No one wants to see that. Turn on your phone and it's like, suddenly penis, here's a vagina. No one wants to see that, okay? None of that. Anyway, the point is, if you know you have a partner who is willing to receive these photos and you're questioning whether to send them or not, the huge thing you have to think about is, what do you want to do? Now, obviously, there are some other things to consider as well. For example, if you're underage, you have to remember that if you take those photos, you are creating child pornography. That is never good. Do not do it. And if you take those photos and send them, you are distributing child pornography. Also not good and incredibly illegal on both counts. Don't do it. But if you are a adult, if you have a consenting partner who wants to receive these photos, should you send them or not? Again, your choice. I know I'm going to keep saying this. I kind of get repetitive when I haven't planned things out, but it's your body. And it's up to you who you share that with in whatever format you want. Obviously, there are things you have to consider. For example, can you trust your partner or partners, whoever you're sending these to? We're just going to say partner for the sake of this for ease. But can you trust them? Are they going to keep things private if you want them kept private? How much does your privacy matter to you? What is the worst that can happen if something is leaked or someone else sees the photos, or he or she does share them maliciously? You know, you have to think about these things. There's actually let me go get the book. There's a great little segment on this in a book I've mentioned before, which is How to Have Feminist Sex by Flo Perry, which I really, really recommend. It's fantastic. And she, again, she does, here we go, I literally opened to the page, and she has like this small section about, you know, should you send them, shouldn't you, blah, blah, blah. She explains this so simply, it's wonderful. So should you send a nude? First question, do you want to? The second question, if everyone you work with saw the nude, would you be fired? And she goes on to talk about how the likelihood of this happening is very, very low in most jobs, but not all. For example, if you're a teacher and you're working with children, you probably don't want naked photos of you out there. But, you know, if you just, I don't know, work in a supermarket and your photo gets leaked, let's be honest, that's not really going to impact your job or have any negative consequences on your career or ability to make money or anything like that. So you just have to think about the social consequences there, and if you're prepared to deal with them if it does get sent. Again, she talks about being underage, and if you're under 16 or 18, depending on the country, do not take the photo, do not send the photo. No excuses, no reason to do it, never stop, it's illegal. And she talks about some other things as well. If you want to kind of like read this book for yourself and kind of get a little bit more detail on it, I'll leave a link to it down in the description below. It will be an affiliate link, so if you do end up buying this book or anything through that link, it just helps support me and my channel and me creating more content a little bit. So I guess the point is, to summarize, you have to think, do you want to? Can you handle the consequences? Are you of age? Are you sending it to someone who wants to receive it? And if you think about all of those things, and probably a few more that I can't think of off the top of my head, and you've thought about all those things and you still want to do it, then go ahead and do it. More power to you. That's awesome. And if you don't want to do it, you're not comfortable with it, never feel pressured into doing it. That's the other big thing. Don't let anyone ever shame you or guilt you or pressure you into sending something like that if you're not comfortable with it. That's not okay. That's never okay. And you are always, always, always well within your rights to say no. Again, I don't think religion comes into this, because it doesn't matter what your religion is and what your beliefs are. As long as you're acting responsibly and caring for yourself and other people, I don't think, you know, it matters too much. I don't think people should be shamed into certain, especially sexual behaviours, just because of a religion. Anyway, let's see what Girl Defined have to say.
I want to take y'all back, though, to a conversation that I had with girls just like you. I remember a group of them were sharing with me how this was a real problem, how it was within their school, and there were a lot of guys that, not even through social media, just through texting, would ask, like, hey, send me a photo, and everyone knew what that meant, and they were saying that they would do it, but they didn't like it, they didn't want to do it, they felt like it wasn't good, and they didn't like the way that their bodies were just kind of being objectified, and they felt like it was not
just consumed,
just
used.
And they didn't even really like want to be with these guys, but it was just so normal, and they felt like, I don't want to be the odd one out, and I want to be liked, and so I'm just going to do it. And they were saying, okay, so what do we do though?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. This is a massive issue. And this goes back to what I was saying about never feeling pressured into doing something. And never just feel like you have to do it because everyone else is doing it either. The idea of sharing private and intimate photos with a person that you're romantically or sexually interested in can be a wonderful thing. It can be a very intimate thing. It can be an exciting thing. It can be fun. But if it's none of those things to you, then don't do it. If it makes you scared, don't do it. If it makes you feel uncomfortable, don't do it. I know it's easy for me to sit here and say this because it can kind of be difficult when you're in that situation, but that's why I want to make it completely like normalized to talk about these things. I want to help you guys understand that it's okay to say no, but also it's just as okay to do it. What matters is that it's your decision and your choice. And don't let anyone else shame you for those choices. Although I'll say it again, here they're talking about schools, and if you are underage, do not do it. Do not take the photos. Do not send the photos. No.
Here's the thing, is that when something becomes so common and so popular and so normalized, it can kind of start to feel like it's the right thing. Everyone's doing it. You know, why do I feel weird about this? Maybe it's just me. Maybe there's no problem with this at all. But here's the truth, is that just because something's popular doesn't mean it's right. And in reality, normalizing what's wrong doesn't automatically make it right. And sharing nude photos, I mean, we could get into all sorts of like biblicals. This is going to be just more of a general conversation, but I just want you to know those feelings of like, where you feel kind of icky, you feel kind of awkward, you feel like, I don't really want to do this, but I kind of want this guy's attention, or I want to be like everyone else. I don't want to be weird. Just know that just because it's popular doesn't automatically make it right.
I do. Why am I agreeing with Girl Defined to this? Is weird. No, I do agree to a huge extent, and they're right. But they're also kind of implying here that sending nudes is inherently wrong, and that people only do it because it's popular, because everyone else is doing it. And I think she's forgetting the fact that some people do it genuinely because they like it and because they like someone and they want to have fun with it. Sending a photo of yourself, if you are an adult, gonna keep coming back to that point, is neither inherently right or wrong. It's a personal choice, and it's okay whichever one you do. Just as you shouldn't be shamed for not sending one, you shouldn't shame other people for sending them. And I mean, of course, there are some circumstances where it's perfectly okay to be angry with someone for sharing things like that. I mean, like, if someone was, like, sending naked photos to your boyfriend without his consent, by all means, be angry with them. I think that would be the case for any sexual stuff someone else was sending to someone else's partner without their consent. But there, in that example, the problem isn't inherently sending the nude photograph. There, the problem is the lack of respecting boundaries, respecting the people in their relationship, the lack of understanding consent, you know, that kind of thing. That's the issue, not the photograph. And I hate to say it, but if someone's being disrespectful and doing things without your consent like that, by all means, shame them for it. They deserve it a little bit. But just in general, if it is between consenting parties and it's all good and there are no issues with anything else, like, cheating or drama or emotions being like manipulated and stuff, as long as there's nothing like that, the act of sending a photo of yourself to someone that you're interested in with their consent is not inherently bad. I hope I'm making sense here. I really have no idea.
And I just want to be real blunt and honest that there are guys out there who are not like that, and there are guys out there who are respectful, who are honoring, who are not looking at porn, who are not asking for nude photos. There are guys like they're out there. Both of us have married those sorts of guys, and we waited and prayed because we wanted a man who would honor God and honor us, and who viewed intimacy and marriage and even nudity in a really beautiful, pure way.
I understand, yes, not everyone's like this, and it's very, very important to recognize that all kinds of people exist, and people have different wants and needs and values, and some people don't like that stuff and some people do. But don't suggest that a person enjoying seeing photos of someone that they're romantically or sexually involved with automatically makes them a bad and disrespectful person. That's not the case at all. If a guy is pressuring you and pestering you and manipulating you into sending something you don't want, that makes them a bad guy. But if you want to send them and he wants to see them, or he wants to send them and you want to see them, or whatever way round it is, whoever it's with, however many people, it doesn't matter. If it's consensual and for your fun, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing disrespectful about it. It can be a very kind of fun way of being intimate with someone who might be a long distance away, you know? No shame for that.
If you have guys who are asking you for nude photos, I just want to say it bluntly, block their numbers, unfollow them on social media. You do not need those sorts of relationships in your life, and you don't have to keep that around. Like, it's really disrespectful and rude of them to be asking for this. And so, like, set a new trend. Say, sorry, I have more respect for myself, and I appreciate God's beautiful design in my body, and my body is to glorify Him, and I am not going to lower it down to an object that you can consume. Block.
Yes.
Very, very blunt, but that's what we need to be doing. Don't continue to let this happen.
Again, I kind of agree. Like, if that's all a guy is asking you for and is using you for that and objectifying you for that, I agree. And if you don't want to do it, block them, get them out of the way. But let's say you and this person are interested in each other and you do have a sexual relationship to whatever extent, and you're adults, you're definitely adults, and you want to share something intimate like this. Why not? What is wrong with it? I don't think it's inherently disrespectful and rude to say, hey, I'm attracted to you, let's do something intimate together. Again, if there's pressure in this, and, you know, he's basically a stranger just asking you for stuff like that, that's disrespectful and rude. But if you already have, to some extent, a relationship, I don't necessarily mean like a monogamous committed relationship. I just mean, you know, maybe you've been dating or seeing each other or like sleeping together or you are together. Or like, words, I'm not expressing myself very well. The point is, like, if you've already established that both of you are interested in each other like that, and either one of you wants to take it to a level where you say, hey, we can't be together right now, but I'd like to do something intimate and sexual with you, I don't think that's inherently disrespectful. Sorry. It's not disrespecting your own body if you want to share a part of yourself with someone you care about like that. You celebrate your body all you want. Go for it. Now, again, I know I'm going to keep saying this, but like, okay, if you're shoving your naked body in people's faces without their consent, just like being like, hey, here's a naked photo of me, here's a naked photo of me, here's a naked photo of me, here's my vagina, here's my vagina, here's my chest, here's my vagina. Like, yes, okay. Not everyone wants to see that, and if you're kind of pushing it in people's faces without their consent, that's not okay. But like I say, if you're sending it to someone who wants to see, who it's consensual with, there's nothing to be ashamed about. If you have the confidence to do that and own your body and celebrate it and show this person you're into, like, just how incredible you are, and be like, yeah, I'm owning this. Like, if you can do that, then more power to you. Seriously.
We need to get good at saying this to, like, hey, will you still be like, no, and then block. Oh, yeah, no, and then block. No, and then block. That's okay. And you might feel like, oh, but I really want his attention. Well, think about who this guy is. Like, he is putting his character on full display, and he's saying, like, I'm a guy who just wants to use women. I just want to consume images that kind of give me some pleasure in this moment. But as soon as he's bored of you, guess what? He's moving on. So really ask yourself,
and
like,
he's probably asking a lot of other girls,
you're
too.
Probably
you're not the only one.
What is it with people like these two here? And Haley DeMarco did it a lot in those videos we touched on, covering some of her books. Why they just make all men out to be these, like, horrific, like, animals with, like, no personality and no skill, who are just, like, roaming around with, like, penises hanging out, being like, show me your body, let me have sex with you. And like apparently that's all men do in their eyes. It's so weird. Oh my god.
Right? I mean, and that's just going to be a pattern that continues on. So really ask yourself, like dig into your own heart and say like, okay, I'm wanting to send him this photo because I want to keep his attention, but really how long is that going to last? Like in the long run, is this a guy that you really want to be with? Yeah. A guy who has such little respect for you, such little dignity, and like not honoring other women, not cherishing them. Like you said, as God cherishes us, is that really the type of guy that you want to be with, even for a little bit?
That's a good point, actually, to some extent. Again, you have to consider why you're sending these photos. If you're doing it because you think it'll make him happy just to keep him around longer or something like that, or to win him over, no, screw that. You don't need a guy who's, like, you know, going to be bought for like a week at a time by like, oh, she sent me a picture today, I'll stay around another week. Like, you don't need someone like that. But if you already have an established connection with someone, if you trust them, if you connect with them, if you're, you know, Trust is the big thing. If you can trust them, and it's not used as a bargaining chip, but rather something for both of your enjoyment, nothing wrong with it.
Yes, he might be fun, he might be popular, he might be super hot, but in the long run, like, how long is that really gonna last?
Not everything you do in life either has to be with, you know, this end goal of like marriage and kids and monogamy forever in mind. Sometimes you just want to do something because it's fun, and that's okay. You don't have to feel ashamed about feeling that.
Something to do.
And there's this mindset circulating that goes something like this, that to be sexually empowered is to send nude photos, is to share nude photos of yourself, but really, that's not empowering for women, that's degrading.
I disagree. I find this very odd. So do you remember, I think it was the first Girl Defined video I ever responded to, like a couple of years back, was about why they're not feminists, and because, you know, they don't like this idea of female empowerment because it puts women in the self above God and blah, 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 and stuff like that. So when it comes to the topic of feminism and female empowerment, I'm probably not going to trust anything Girl Defined say for a very long time. That said, I think they kind of have it backwards. What was their wording, right?
And there's this mindset circulating that goes something like this, that to be sexually empowered is to send nude photos, is to share nude photos of yourself, but really, that's not empowering for women, that's degrading. Yeah. Like at the bottom line, it's degrading because that's not who God made us to be. Like
to be sexually empowered is to share nude photos of yourself. I'm not sure I agree with that, and I don't think that's exactly what people are saying. They're not saying you can't feel sexually empowered if you don't send photos, but they are saying if you are sexually empowered, it's okay to send photos if you want to. It's also okay not to. And I think what people are saying is that if you send photos or don't, the point is it's your choice, and the fact that it's your choice is sexually empowering. This idea that some people use, you know, nude photos of women to degrade them and objectify them is a bad thing. That's terrible. We get that. But that doesn't mean the act of sharing a nude photo of yourself or receiving one from someone else is an inherently misogynistic act. The fact is, women enjoy sex and nudity as much as anyone else. And a truly empowered woman will understand that and understand that there's not just one right or wrong way for women or men or non-binary people to enjoy sex, to want to have sex, to feel about sex, to act sexually. There's no one right or wrong way. And I think the true key to female empowerment, especially when it comes to sexuality in the body, is to realize that it is a choice, and it's your choice, and it's not anyone else's. Before, women were very restricted about what we could and couldn't do, what we could and couldn't wear, who we could and couldn't marry, when we could have sex, how often we could have sex. If we wanted it too much, we were crazy and mentally ill. If we didn't want it enough, we were bad wives and probably mentally ill. There was so much stigma around this. Today, more and more women are feeling empowered. More and more people are feeling empowered. And that doesn't mean everyone is out there sleeping with 100 people, doing this and this and this all the time. What it means is that people have the choice. A sexually empowered person knows that they can say yes and knows that they can say no. That's what empowerment's about. It's about knowing that if someone asks you to send a photo, you can say yes or no, whichever you want. You can say yes or no, or maybe in an hour when I'm feeling a bit better, or no, let's do this on my schedule, please. That's what empowerment's about. It's about knowing that it's your choice, because it's your body. And as long as there's consent there with your partner, it's all good.
It's not his good plan for us. He says that in him, in Christ, we're cherished, we're loved, we're worthy. He has given us dignity. He has created our bodies not to be used and consumed in a lust-filled way. He's created our bodies for his glory, and then for that nakedness to be enjoyed within an intimate, committed relationship within marriage.
Lust, again, is not an inherently bad thing. This is, such a bizarre thing. Anyway, then this last, minute or so was just a little bit more repeating the same stuff and a little ad read. This actually ended up being a lot longer than I expected in terms of filming, which feels quite good for an unplanned video. I don't know how together this is going to be, we will see. But I just want to end this on a kind of final note with a little bit of an exciting little announcement, because I like I say, I've been having a bit of a hard time recently, especially mental health wise, and what's always been there for me in my life throughout all my rough times has been photography. And I know I'm not the best photographer in the world, and I've always been a bit limited by things like kit and stuff and whatever, but the point is I'm very, very passionate about it, and I have a hell of a lot of love for it, and photography's kind of been in my life forever. I used to have these old little plastic cameras that took APS film, which is going back a few years now because they don't even make that anymore. But I used to have them. My sister gave me her hand-me-down cameras, and I would take all the photos and stuff on holiday, in Wales with my mum, lots of photos of hills from when I was 7 and stuff. And I loved it. I felt so empowered when I had that camera in my hand. And then when I was 13, my mum and my sister, they saved up and they got me my first little digital camera. It was just a little point and shoot thing. But I went around and I'd take pictures of my dog Jasper, and the fish and flowers and walls and basically anything I could find. And that was kind of when I started to really, figure out who I was and kind of come into my own and discover my passions a little bit. Since then, over the last 14 years, let's not say that number out loud, I've gone through a series of cameras. I've discovered my love of film photography as well. I love my instant cameras, but 35mm and 120 are kind of where my heart lies. I have a load of old vintage film cameras that I adore. And I love digital as well for the convenience. Anyway, this is a long story. The point is, photography's always been my creative outlet for when I'm happy, when I'm sad, when I'm angry, when I'm hurt, when I'm everything. And it also holds the key to some of my most precious and treasured memories. And one thing I've been wanting to do for a while that I've never really had the courage to do before is share some of my favourite photos and with you guys as prints that you can get. And so I've been recently, at least these last couple of weeks, while my head's been especially messy, going through, not joking, hundreds of thousands of old photographs and sorting through them and re-editing some and picking out favourites. And I've started to put together a little store on my website, which you can find at racheloates.me/shop. So that's racheloates.me/shop. And there's some animal stuff on there, there's some landscape and travel stuff, there's a little bit of everything, and prices start from just a tenner, so you can get a nice 5/7 print for a tenner, or 8/6 for £15, I think 8/12 for £20, and the big, massive, chunky A3 prints are £30, and they all come and they're all signed on the back by me, and I'm going to number them all so you know exactly which one you're getting. So whether you get the first print in the run or the 10th, the point is you'll know when it was printed and signed by me and which one you got and all that stuff. So they're all going to be done by hand, and I'll leave little kind of handwritten notes in for anyone who buys them as well, which is quite exciting. I tried to keep prices fairly low and stuff, but at the same time I don't want to kind of undercut the work that's gone into them. So yeah, pricing's something I always struggle with when it comes to myself, but hopefully they're okay. In terms of kind of printing turnaround and stuff, I obviously have to get them printed and sent to me and then sent off to you guys. So if you order something, give it maybe 10 or 12 days turnaround, and hopefully it should arrive with you as soon as possible. But if there's any problems, you can email anytime, and I'll sort it if I can. Yeah, this is a kind of terrifying thing for me, but since I mentioned it in a small little post the other day, some of you guys have already bought some prints, and it's just kind of makes me really emotional, but really grateful that you guys kind of believe in me and something I love so much. So thank you so much to everyone who's bought a print so far, and thank you to anyone who can and will consider it in the future. And yeah, I just kind of wanted to let you know that these are there if you want to have a look around. I'll also be adding more photos over the next few days, so it's worth checking back at the link if you kind of maybe think you might want something but you haven't seen anything that quite takes your fancy yet. I'm going to stop being an emotional little wreck. Don't worry, the nearly tears were happy tears, don't worry. We stopped them in time. Anyway, God, words. My head's a bit of a mess. I'm going to go and try and edit this before bed. Kubi Bear's already asleep and snoring on the bed. But anyway, shameless self-promotion out the way, unplanned video, hopefully done, whatever. Leave me a comment down below. Please let me know what you thought of today's video and any other videos you'd like to see from me in the future. And thank you for sticking around for me through this kind of rough mental health patch while I've been a little bit all over the place and kind of spacey. But I do appreciate you guys so much. You really are incredible and wonderful and supportive, and I really, really appreciate you all. So thanks a lot, and I will see you again very, very soon.